Alright, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm a few days late with this one. Apologies for that. I know there's probably been loads of videos about this, but Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Bud Crawford is on July 29th. Undisputed welterweight championship on the line. What an absolutely amazing fight for boxing. It really is. And I'll keep banging the drum. We're having such a good season, if you want to call it that, this year. Here's another great big fight with the best fighting the best. It's only good for the sport, so let's talk about it.
Boxing.
Okay, shout out to all the subscribers. Big up to anybody new locked in. So the premise of this video, obviously, to get excited about Errol Spence and Bud Crawford and talk about the fight briefly. It's not going to be a huge breakdown, but I did want to talk about two major parts that could be a big factor in this fight. One being Errol Spence's jab. Now that is going to be a really important factor. It usually is for him anyway. You know, he's got one of the better jabs just because he uses it consistently to set his offense up, his body punching to back his opponents up. He loves to double jab or single jab and then come in with those, you know, backhand, shovel hook, uppercut body shots. It's going to be a really important weapon in this fight. Question is, will Bud Crawford be able to neutralize it a little bit? You know, Sean Porter was able to shut the jab down a little bit. Although, I watched that fight again today, just to see, it didn't seem like Spence was overly committed to the jab. I know Porter was taking it away by stepping back, and he also was, you know, rushing and being physical with Spence when he could. And, you know, he was moving his head a little bit too, and he was definitely stepping in and out of range and moving a little bit. So Spence had to reset a bit more than he would like to. But there's definitely a lot of periods in that fight where Spence had opportunities to throw the jab but never did. But nonetheless, Terence Crawford will be looking to take the jab away and counter it. And his timing is absolutely special. You know, Terence Crawford's timing is one of the best in the game. And his IQ is too. And, you know, when you have a somewhat methodical rhythm to Errol Spence, which he does, it does tend to lean into the hands of someone with better timing and IQ and athleticism as well. Bud Crawford is definitely going to be able to time Spence Jr. It's just a question of how much, and, you know, what will Spence be able to make adjustments, because basically I was watching the Kell Brook fight as well. Kell Brook had tremendous success with countering that jab, and he was, you know, leaning back, using his feet planted, leaning back and coming back over Spence's jab. But then Spence started backing Brook up a little bit more, and when Brook's going backwards and his feet aren't set, he can't time it as well. So, you know, and that was obviously, but Brook's an orthodox. So what position, what stance is Bud Crawford going to be in? Because if he's going to go orthodox, which I personally think he should do, if he saw that bit of for a little bit anyway, not the whole fight, because Crawford can switch hit, we know that, but I think if you watch the Brook fight, you must realize that there are some opportunities, because he was catching Spence clean with timing that and winning rounds because of it. Obviously there was more to the rounds than that, but there were some eye-catching beautiful shots Brook was, and then Brook eventually ended up landing that he was timing him with the right too, so that's always there. With the fights that Crawford has had against southpaws, he's only ever fought as a southpaw. Felix Diaz and Ndongo. I haven't watched the whole fight recently. There might have been one or two moments where he switched hit, but generally he was a southpaw against the southpaw. So will he do that? But I do fully expect him to have a lot of success timing Spence's jab. And, you know, how long can he consistently do that for? Will he be able to get some early rounds in by doing that? And, you know, will he be able to do it backing up? Because he was catching Diaz. I know Diaz isn't Spence, I get that, but nonetheless, given Crawford's special ability to counterpunch, I can see him being very successful, especially early. And then, you know, obviously Spence is going to look to close the distance, back him up, and go to work downstairs and try to pin him on the ropes and get him to basically bully him on, or not necessarily on the ropes, but you know, Spence goes to work on the inside and he's absolutely magnificent in there. So the other question to part of this video is, will he be able to do that? And if he does, will he be able to tap in and drag that dog side of Terence Crawford that we all know, the savage animal? They both are really, but Crawford's just another level with the dog in him. Bravado, machismo, which ironically enough is not what boxing is. You know, it's not when you have an intelligent, cerebral fighter like Terence Crawford. Well, we know he loves to fight. That's why he does it. But I personally think if he's going to know that he might have to contain that dog side of him to stand a chance to beat Errol Spence, because I think if the minute he does get drawn into that, he stands less of a chance of winning, in my opinion. Because, you know, there's only like Terence Crawford, obviously he isn't as big of a welterweight as Spence. Crawford isn't as big as Spence. Spence appears to be a bit stronger. Now I know Crawford is very strong and he can punch. He's got that wiry power. I know he was a wrestler and I've seen him weightlift and deadlift these massive weights. I get that, which is why this fight is very compelling too. Many reasons why, but the strength thing is interesting. But Errol Spence is just, it might be that dude that you just don't want to do the bravado with. And I personally think that Bud Crawford might opt to not do that because it just makes no sense. If you're a smart, intelligent boxer, cerebral, good counter puncher, and you know, just I guess he's got wider punches, but like you could live on the outside and not pick apart Spence, but certainly, you know, have that fight in your favor. But I think if you get drawn into this non-boxing fight, you know, kind of bravado style, I mean, like you're gonna run the risk of getting hurt, in my opinion, to be honest. This Spence's bread and butter. When he gets you on the inside and he starts framing you, starts bullying you, his balance is a little bit better. His base and his shape is built for that. You know, he knows exactly how to pin you and frame you and post you and whack you downstairs while he's manipulating your guard. I'm not saying Crawford can't do that, but there's levels to that, and Spence is one of the best inside fighters, one of the best body punchers. And like the last thing you want to be doing is get into a massive exchange with someone that is probably bigger and stronger and better at doing what they're doing than you are in that moment. So I personally think Crawford will not be as eager to let that animalistic side out, and you know, containing that is another thing. But I think he's going to have to be able, I think he will, because he is so smart. And it's like, when you are smart, you have to draw the line with that, because that is boxing, you know. And he is one of the best, if not the best boxer. If you want to do a pound for pound boxer, fighter, whatever, they're both in the top. I don't really do pound for pound lists, but let's be honest, these are two of the best fighters in the world. That's why it's such a magnificent fight. It's so good. It's probably the best style matchup you can get. We're getting it. We're getting one of the best style matchups with two of the best fighters that are both undefeated, and it's coming soon. 5 days after the Inouye Stephen Fulton fight. Anybody that says boxing's dead, or people are moaning about the boxing schedule, you need to, you know, have a look at what's just happened, because what we get, you must have forgotten the Plant, Benavidez, Tank Davis, Garcia, Loma, Haney, Yard, Better Beterbiev, Yard. There's a few others that I can't think of as well, but man, this is just great news. You know, hopefully we get the heavyweights to sort out their mess. Hopefully Fury can find his pen, but like, it's a great fight. But the keys for me, Errol Spence's jab, because he uses it a lot, he's very consistent with it, okay? Throws it a lot. Is Crawford going to be able to temper that jab, time that jab, and get Spence to not throw it as much? Is Spence going to be able to get him to fight on the inside a little bit and get his way? And is Crawford going to be able to contain that animal side of him? I think he will be able to do all three. To be honest, I think Bud Crawford's going to win this fight. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are very passionate, shall we say, and have probably thumbs down the video now on picking Crawford to win. But if he does those things, you know, there's no reason why. Because if he sticks to his boxing, it should be a Bud Crawford points win for me. But look, this is still early. I'm going to look at a bit more film. Love both guys, both throwback fighters, great for the sport. I hope we get a good, clean fight. I think we're going to, and it's going to be a magnificent day for boxing. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm out of here, Boxing on the Edge. I hope you have a great week. The summer is here. What's not to be happy about, all right?
Boxing
on the edge.